Hello and welcome to ThinkShare. My name's Zach, here to bring to what I've been thinking about, sharing about, talking about, listening to, reading about that doesn't belong in math class. If you're new to the channel, invite you to, yeah, yep. I'm not gonna invite you to subscribe, yes. So it's it's just after 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed soon, but I wanted to share with you. So I'm starting later than I normally do tonight for live stream because I really took a lot of time today to work on the lesson plans for tomorrow as well as the test that I'm giving tomorrow to my honors geometry class. So one of the things that I think is quite challenging sometimes is really doing a good job assessing students. Um, as much as we want to be marking our students and grading them on the appropriate material, sometimes we are looking for a happy medium between challenging them as well as sort of, I think there's an idea of like separating the A's from the B's. Like you want the students that are they really know their stuff. Like you want it to be just hard enough that there is maybe one or two problems that would separate the students that'll get the A's from the B's, that they know all the stuff that is normal and they've seen before, and then something that they can sort of synthesize, they can kind of create themselves. So I think after making this last test, one of the other things is also making sure that they have enough time to take it and that it's an appropriate skill level. And I've realized it's sort of different depending on the class. Some classes, I would say the ratio that it takes me to do a test versus the amount of time it would take them is going to be different. But some teachers have heard like if they're giving a 50-minute test, they should be able to do it in 20. Some classes I might even say I should be able to do it in 5 or 10. Get better candy. So this one it took me about 17 minutes and I felt like it was a little bit on the long side. Going to my doctor's room, I won't be there for the take the test. Got it, Bulger. So it took me 17 minutes to do it, and then I said, I feel like I like to go with like a 12 to 15 minute amount if I'm giving them a 50-minute test. So I cut it down just a little bit, and I think if I were to do the test again, I would do it faster just because I already know everything. But I think it would take me about 15 minutes to do it. So there's a lot of factors that go into making a good test. How's it going, Armani? I think so many people don't realize how much thought gets put into a good assessment, and I think some of my students know when it's been a bad assessment because either I've just made it too hard or I haven't put quite enough thought into it. And one of the things that I didn't quite do enough, and I made a teacher mistake last time, was um, I I so a lot of times I'll write down the problems like on a sheet of paper, and then later on I will type them up, put them into a Google Doc, so that I can have it for the future, and so that I can just make small changes on it. I don't have to write it again. And last time I did the test out, I solved it, and I forgot one of the numbers from my paper onto the computer. And I didn't give myself quite enough time to take the test again after it had been typed up to find any errors. So one of the problems was unsolvable. And so you could only actually get a range of numbers in between 190 degrees and like 290 degrees, but you couldn't actually get it because there wasn't enough info. So during the actual test or the quiz, multiple students shared their grievances over. Yeah, it was sort of a trick question, but what I would expect from them is that they try to solve for as many things. So it's a circle, and there are some inscribed angles. So inscribed just means that 3 of the points of the angles are all on the circle itself. So there's a relationship between an inscribed angle and the arc length that it is sort of opposite from, or the intercepted arc. So I didn't quite give enough information, and some of them spent a lot of time on it. And I said, you know what, if you're stuck on something, move past it. Make sure you at least get them in about somewhere through the test. I was pretty sure it was still solvable, And then after spending some time after they'd taken it, it turned out it wasn't. So I had to find a new way to actually assess points. Because going in, I think the other thing that teachers try to do is find a way to assess points so that it is easier um, so it's actually easier to like grade. Because I think one of the pains of giving assessments and tests, and I think the reason we almost don't do more like small quizzes and stuff, is because it just takes a lot of effort to make a good quiz that you can grade quickly. So the quicker you can grade things, the more often you can give them, and the better idea you have of them, and the better off they're able to have points that add together that they can keep building on their grade. I think one of the things that people will discover in college is you're not necessarily given as many grades, and sometimes it is just like your midterm and your final, and that's it. That's all you have to assess your knowledge on. Um, I think that ideally projects are the best way to give students grades and have them earn things. And I think the reason that there isn't more project-based learning out there is probably because if everyone is taking the same tests and there's all this data that can be gathered from it, then they'll do that instead. So if I can have a if the midterm is a 50 question multiple choice test, I can do all of the grading in about 5 minutes because it's all Scantron. I just put it in the machine, and I get to find out what percent of students got different answers right and wrong. And from there, I actually have the opportunity to look to see what I didn't teach well enough, what I did teach enough of, or maybe not over top, but like things that they really did well on, and you can derive a lot of your new instruction after that. So challenge here that I wanted to share with you all before I go to bed is just writing tests is not easy. Takes practice. Still getting better at it. I think some days I'm better than others. Some days I get a little bit on the lazy side, and I don't think ahead about how I want to score things. And so what happens is when I receive all the tests back, it takes me a bit of time to figure out how I want to do partial credit. So in math, a lot of times, if you just get a right or wrong answer, and there's 10 or 20 problems on the test, each of those is a pretty big chunk. So we really try to come up with ways to give partial credit. And if I don't think of that ahead of time going into making the problems, then that becomes an issue. And I think this all goes into a very philosophical place for me, is thinking about, are tests good? Are they bad? I was asked on the one of the students interviewed me for the TV channel, the YouTube channel that our school has, and they were saying, what do you think about midterms? Does it create too much stress on finals? And I pretty much said the reason that they're gonna do finals is because it's easier to assess whether someone passed or failed with pure numbers. And I think that finals and midterms are stupid. And at the same time, they're going to see them in college, and it's very much a college preparatory school. I think there's some schools out there that are probably more geared towards having the students be able to exit high school like ready to live their lives and have enough skills to be able to go into the workforce. I think a lot of high schools out there have now shifted, and now they're college preparatory. Like, the goal is to get them into college. It's not to get them into a good job and have skills that they can go and contribute to the economy immediately. So I think I'm starting to realize that when students ask, when are we going to need this in life, it's okay to say, you're probably not going to need this in life. This is just part of a college. This is part of a high school diploma, and this is what the state has for high school diploma. So your choices are not complete school. Like, you don't have to learn these things. No one's you're being forced to get a high school diploma, but I think that testing is more of the colleges use it, so I think it's good for us to, if we're sending the majority of our students to college, then we should prepare them for those experiences they're going to have in college. But otherwise, I think really standardized tests are just a good way for organizations of larger size to figure out how to compare different schools, different districts, different students, and how to sort them. Um, when you have 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, a million people, you want to be able to categorize them. And so testing is a way that they can be categorized. If everyone was being assessed on their knowledge via projects, that would take a really long time to compare them all. So what the MCAS test does, which the sophomores took the past 2 days, was it gives the state an opportunity to see who's over underperforming, meeting standards, and some people in some states, teachers are not only assessed on how their students score, but their jobs depend on it. Like if a majority of I don't know quite how it is, but I know that it exists out there that if enough teachers, if a teacher has their students that are not making the numbers that they have to, they could actually get fired for it. So I don't know that I don't know if I'm in that type of situation. I haven't heard of it happening in my community. I hope that's not the case, because I think there's a new thing that didn't exist when, or at least nearly as much even when I was in high school, which is like test anxiety. I mean, there is some level of it, but I think it's a really common thing is test anxiety now, and it's kind of a product of the system that's been created for students out there. So, as a teacher, the best thing I can do is prepare them so that maybe they don't have test anxiety. Try to teach some mindfulness along with it, and also just teach them test taking strategies. So if they have stress, they can deal with it a lot better. They don't have to need it in life. School is memory training, which will help strengthen the mind from different angles, math, social studies, etc., as well as requirement for the society. Well, I don't know if these things are a requirement for society. Like, better candy. When's the last time you used the Pythagorean theorem? When's the last time you need to know about inscribed angles, or had to solve for angles in a triangle, or solve something? I would say the skills that are applicable within geometry are being able to set up an equation based on some given information, use some rules, which maybe things are congruent or equal to each other, and apply those rules. So it's taking, oh, I got you, yeah. So I don't disagree with you there. Yep, school's an interesting thing, because I think it has good intentions, and I think a lot of people, including myself, are sometimes disenfranchised from the direction it ends up heading, based on a lot of the systems that are in place, and the culture that we've sort of created around college, where it's really the next place to go. That might not be the best advice for all the people that are going out and getting college degrees, because the average income for a college graduate is getting lower, because there's a lot of overqualified people. There's a lot of people with degrees out there that aren't actually getting the skills from their degree to go be able to make more money, aka bring more value to the world. Yeah, I agree. College is weak. I thought I got really, really good at math and algebra, physics. You hand me any kind of equation, I can solve it. I don't know that I needed 4 years for it. Hey, Alex. I think it was a fun opportunity. I think I grew a lot from it. I think I had a lot of awesome life experiences from it. And in terms of the education, I don't know if I would do it. I mean, I'd probably do it again just because I had so much damn fun, but I had more fun than I had learning. I mean, all these things that we take tests for, we've all become test takers instead of learners. Which, speaking of, in a couple of days, I'm going to be sharing with you guys something that I'm going to be teaching myself. A bunch of students at the school know how to do it, which is talk gibberish. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys that in a couple of days. But right now, it is bedtime for this guy. So I'll leave you with this. So in gibberish, you say, Igida, glad to hear it, Alex. You say, Igida before every single vowel. So when I go to say stay weird, it would be stigada a wigida-eared. Wigida-eared. Stigada wigida-eared. And my name is Zigadak Wigadot Sigadon. Remember that. Yeah, Alex, I'm curious if you know how to speak gibberish because I think there's a couple kids in your grade as well that can speak it. But I look forward to learning it, and I would love to be able to talk. Dude, you should learn it. Just look up how to speak gibberish on YouTube. The first thing that comes up is a great tutorial. Um, I was teaching myself just listening to it in the car ride the other day, and it's wicked fun. And you can have full conversations with people. They take longer because you're adding igida to every vowel. But if you talk fast and you can hear people, it's fun to have conversations. I've seen people have conversations like at the talent show. They had conversations with it. So that's all for today. Um, Thank you all for listening. If you like this, share it, like it. Stay weird, humans. Yiggity, yiggity.